So in your bucket,
Yeah.
what would you pull out? The one thing that you would pull out and give the Israelis? What do you think they need?
Oh, God.
What would you say is the most important?
I don't know. I think,
Pretty complex, right?
well, so what I came back with here was a whole, well, not a new, but perhaps a broader perspective on me, my culture, in this place. The fellow I showed you, Adrian, Adrian is the speaker at Sandy Soto School for Ministry, which is a school for ministry in the United Church that's for First Nations people. And Adrian talked often about the complete parallels between us and them, and about the indigenous people of the land there and the indigenous people of the land here. And coming from here, I could go over there and comment on their colonization. Maybe some of them could come over here and comment on mine. I don't know, maybe that would help them see themselves differently if they're, I guess, what we were told by the Jewish Israelis that talked to us, Jeff Helper and Sarah and Gloria and others, was that most people are so entrenched in it, they're never going to see out of it. That the only thing that's going to make it change is us. That we're going to have to look upon them and let them know what we see. As much as we did in South Africa, probably much as we did in Ireland and with the Iron Curtain. And they're, in turn, probably going to have to look at us and say, really, how many reserves still don't have water? What's the death rate like? What's the age? Somebody said to me, who are you to comment on them? And I said, well, one, they asked us to, frankly. Like, both the Israelis, they want us to. They want us in there. It's just on their terms. And the Palestinian Christians certainly asked us to. So that's one thing. Somebody asks you for help. You don't just turn your back. I don't think you do. But the other thing is, like, who else would? I mean, we're not very good at commenting on ourselves. So I guess, I don't know. What I would give them would be the ability to see themselves as they are seen by the Palestinians. What Muhammad said, to get the occupier off their head. I'd give them that, if I could.
Do you know what the statistics are, like, when it comes to the Israelis? How many would actually even believe in the Torah?
Pretty slight. Pretty small group. We were told by the people that talked to us, not a large number of Israelis or like even in the pro-peace movement, but it's growing. There are tables where people sit down and get to know each other as human beings, which is why I think the wall was so important to Israel. It was to keep them out. It was to keep the Israelis out of Palestine. It wasn't the other way around. It was to stop them from talking to people, to recognize that these are other human beings that we're in this with. Because there's a certain perspective that says that land will all be, what the current government of Israel says, it is part of the Judaization process. It will be a Jewish state. And that means you can't have Arabs. It's pretty straightforward. They have to go. And that's always been part of the program. And so, I mean, that's only, like, I think if we, as humans, we can all sit down somewhere at some level and talk to each other. The guy from Military Court Watch, when we asked him where he had hope, he said, I only keep doing this work, I can only do it at this level, right? With these kids, watch these kids and see what's going on with them. At the other level, he said, I have no hope. I don't think it's going to change. It's getting worse all the time. He said, but you know what? There were people working in South Africa. They didn't have any hope. That was never going to change. People in Ireland, that wasn't going to change, and the wall was never going to come down, and all of those things happened. He said, I have no idea what might be waiting just around the corner, and I just have to keep doing the work that I do and make the difference that I can. So his hope is in us, that everybody will, as Jonathan Cook said, everybody I talk to is a ripple, right? I have no idea which ripple is going to do it, but one of you is going to do it. And you just keep rippling. So we can ripple. There are postcards there about defense of children, things that we can do to let our government know that it shouldn't happen. We could, I think statistics, what were they? The statistics they gave us that I hadn't totally researched were something like 800,000 displaced, 700,000 700,000 wounded, 100,000 killed since 1949, Palestinians. And just about every Palestinian has somebody in their family that something like that has happened to. And so how do we break that cycle? Like we go to Wiyam and we go to Sabil, we go to the school in East Jerusalem, and we try and find ways to stop it at the ground with the kids and support them. East Jerusalem School needs some financial support so they can translate their programs into Israeli, Jewish Israeli. They say that, or into Hebrew, they say that there are teachers who are more than willing to be subversive in those schools. They just need the program. You know, Peace Heroes, I mean, it's kind of a nice, innocuous program, isn't it? We'll just teach that in Tel Aviv. And there's a school in Tel Aviv that's already started to teach it, but it's in English, so they need to translate. So those kinds of resistant, subversive pieces, I think, are beautiful. Like the image of the man in the bandana throwing a bouquet of flowers just takes me. It's just like they are so resistant and they have so no hope. And yet, last night there, we went to a restaurant, young people dressed in traditional garb, dancing for us and then bringing us up to dance with them. And that would have happened many other places in the world, and it happened there. And so there's still people living their lives and trying to make it a difference and drawing the connections, right? Mazim and Fayez saying, this isn't just about Israel. In fact, it's very little about Israel. It's about a whole world system that sells the world out and its people out for some kind of financial gain that's killing all of us. Mazim's really heavily involved in the global environmental movement, really trying to get something to happen about climate change, while working really hard in the land he lives to make sure that they'll at least have some water, some plants, some animals that survive the changing climate. So they see it as our liberation too. So maybe that's the fact of my bucket for us.